This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you can hear me okay. My name is Sarah Langdon. Welcome along to Teachers Talk Radio. This is my first show. I'm absolutely terrified. Please bear with me. I have to be honest with you. I am probably the least tech-savvy teacher you are ever going to meet. But do you know what? We're going to do it. It's absolutely fine. Let me give you a little bit of context onto me and who I am before we get going. My name's Sarah. I have been teaching now for coming up to 10 years, actually. I was a little bit late to the party going to university and doing my subject degree. I'm an English and drama teacher by trade, and I am currently a vocational assessor for the prison service, as well as also doing my own private tuition. So I have got a guest joining me this evening. I'm just waiting for her to arrive. She's just entered the live studio, which is excellent. So I just need to, there she was. Oh, this is amazing. Bear with me. Here we go. I'm just going to let her in and then I will introduce her. Is she in? Let me see. Oh my goodness. This is so nerve-wracking, isn't it? Let me tell you a little bit about my guest this evening, who is hopefully going to be in very, very shortly. Her name is Rupinder Sandhi, and we are talking this evening about the creative arts in education, the creative arts, the creative industries, and Rupinder is a multi-award-winning educator and female leader. She's the curriculum manager for the Creative Industries Department at Sandwell College for Visual Arts, and she has extensive experience of supporting young people and adults within their education and in preparing them for the working industry. Now, when we had a chat, Rupinder and I had a chat on the phone last week when we were kind of getting ready for tonight, and we share a lot because my very first teaching job that I got when I qualified was in the creative arts department as an English teacher for kind of that department. Because when students came in as when they came out post-16 into FE and they were doing their post-16 course, so their BTECs or their whatever it is that they enrolled on, if they hadn't gained the C grade or now the grade 4 in English, they had to resit it alongside. And that was my job. So I was teaching them whilst that they were doing that. And it was the creative arts department I worked in. So I am super, super excited to talk to Rupinder today. And I believe she is here.
Hi.
Evening, Rupinder. How are you?
Hi, Sarah. I'm very, very well. Thank you. How are you?
I think we're equally full of cold.
Yes, I agree. I am so I've had so
How are
many
you
cold and
feeling?
flu
Are you
capsules.
okay?
Yes, I'm okay. I mean, if I do have a coughing fit, I really do apologise. But yes, it's that
Same
time
for
of
me.
year,
We might have a
unfortunately.
sneeze off before the end of the show, perhaps.
Sounds good to me.
So tell us a little bit about your role as the curriculum manager for the Creative Industry Department at Sandwell College. What is your department like? How dynamic is it?
Absolutely. So, so I'm the curriculum manager at Sandwell College and FE College. So I oversee art and design, fashion, photography, and digital and creative media. So
Okay.
there is loads of different things always kind of going on. And I think what's really nice about our department is that we do try and collaborate when we kind of can.
Yeah.
And especially the thing that we really look forward to as well is at the end of the year, in about June, July time, we do something called the final major project. So we actually create an exhibition with the students. We
Oh,
invite
wow. That
friends
sounds
and
amazing.
family. Yeah, it's really great, and people of the public, so they really get to share and showcase what they've been learning from the entire year, and then they really get to showcase a specialism that they really like.
Yeah. So is
So
that
it's very
across all
diverse.
areas? Is that across all the areas of the department? So the art and design, the fashion, the performing arts,
Yeah.
the photography, everybody has a place to exhibit at that.
Absolutely. So we all just get involved, we all get stuck in, and it's just a really nice event. It's a really nice showcase as well to kind of end the year on a high and for the students to kind of have something for themselves. And it's always great as well because they can use pictures of the kind of exhibition as part of their portfolio, because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we are getting them work ready as well as ready for university if that's also the other pathway that they wish to take.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you start your journey into the arts, Rupinder?
Well, I think it was a bit of a tricky one for myself. So I come from a South Asian heritage background as a Sikh young lady back in the day, and I
God.
kind of always enjoyed doing art. I mean, my mother always used to say, you'd be sitting there colouring, and I think my teacher at high school kind of says, you're really good at this, Rupinder. Why don't you take it further? And I was kind of like, okay, I will.
Mm,
Kind of had a conversation with like my parents, and they said, yeah, do it as a GCSE. That's fine. You've chosen other options such as like business studies and geography. So yeah, that's fine. You can do that a bit on the side. Did
mm,
really well in it, and then decided to do it as an A level. And that was when again I really loved it, really enjoyed it, and that was when we were applying to do our UCAS applications, and I wanted to do it at university.
yeah.
Kind of kept it on the down low, to be honest, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do fine art as a degree. And then it came to the point where I had to kind of have that conversation with my family. And,
Why did you keep quiet? Were you concerned that they wouldn't want you to kind of go down the route of the arts because it, in inverted commas, doesn't put money on the table or whatever?
exactly that. So it was just kind of like, family thought, yeah, she's going to go into law, or she's going to go into like something very academic.
Right.
So I think I knew that they would be like, that's not really a stable job. You're not going to be financially stable if you do art and design. So, it was kind of, I was quite afraid to kind of tell them that. I didn't want to disappoint them. But then it
Yeah.
got to that point where I had to, and I was like, look, this is what I want to do at university. I want to do fine art. And it was just a case of, that's not really a career. Like
Yeah.
that's how they saw it. So, I had to really kind of say, no, but this is what I want to do. And luckily I had a very good, caring and supportive mother who still is till this day. And was like, you need to follow your heart, you need to follow your passion.
Yeah.
And so I did. I mean, I did have some disappointed grandparents and things like that.
Oh,
Um,
bless them. I bet
yeah,
they, I bet they're not now though.
no, they're not now. They're just like, yes, that's my granddaughter. So, it is lovely. But yeah, and I had to just do what I wanted to do. And I did fine art at Wolverhampton University. So, stayed within the region of where I've kind of been brought up. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
And then that was when I sort of decided I wanted to do a PGCE and go into education and change other people's lives, just how my art teacher did with me.
Yeah.
And kind of take that stigma away from what creative subjects are. So that was what I wanted to do, really.
And that's the thing, isn't it? The stigma around the creative arts. The fact that that sentence even exists makes me have chills in a way, because I was doing a little bit of reading and things in preparation for today, because I had a conversation with my other half's grandparents actually yesterday, talking about doing the show with you today. And they went, "Oh, what's it about?" And I was like, "Oh, we're talking about the amazing opportunities that are opened up by the creative arts." And my partner's grandmother, who's an elderly lady, she was like, "The arts, they don't allow you to do anything." Whereas when I was reading today, I took a quote from Apprenticeship Standards, and it said the creative industries are hugely important to the country, with most people engaging with them daily through the media they consume, the clothing they wear, items they use, or places they visit. And it's the fact that there seems to be this stigma around this kind of performance side of the arts and this expression side, whereas actually the arts are things that we absorb every single day, without exception.
Absolutely. I mean, when we kind of have like open days and parents come in, guardians, and they're like, okay, my son or daughter wants to do a creative subject, but what is it going to lead to? What career paths are
Yeah.
there for them to kind of go into? And there's so many. I mean, I always kind of say the same sort of thing to parents, the seats that we're currently sitting on and talking over, they've been designed by someone, the architecture of this amazing building, the clothing that we're wearing has been designed by someone. And I think it's just those little things that kind of give that realization to people that, oh, actually creativity is all around us.
It
And I
is.
mean, creativity was a really massive thing that everyone kind of turned to during lockdown. I mean, people were knitting, people were baking, people were doing all these kind of creative hobbies that they never really knew that they could do.
Hmm.
And I think that's what's also is so important as well. It's
Yeah,
all about kind of, yeah.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. I kind of feel like one of the kind of good things that came out of the pandemic, if you like, was everybody embracing their inner creativity, whether they became a baker or a knitter, like you said. All of these things people were posting on their social media, going, "Look what I'm making! I've made this, for want of a better term, this piece of art." But they weren't aware of it from that perspective.
No, not at all. And I think that's what, engages people, and you have so much conversation about the creatives. And I
Yeah,
mean, there's so much culture behind it as well. It's not just a case of, that it's like, oh yeah, this is a painter. You learn so much about the meaning, where it's come from, why it was done. It's all about sharing that expressionism within that piece of art. And people also get that chance to express themselves as well.
yeah,
And it's an outlet for a lot of people. I mean, we don't realise it. I mean, sometimes even when I'm on the phone to like a call centre, I'm there just doodling. I mean, everyone makes these little doodles, and it's
yeah.
just those little things. It can start off from something so small, and it can just expand so much. And creativity does help with well-being, and it's a scientific fact that it does help to improve health and happiness. And you do feel a lot better when you are doing something like that.
100%. Yeah. I think I forget. Do you know what? I remembered a really great reference that I wanted to sort of share with you tonight, and I can't remember who it is that said it now. If anyone knows who said this, please let me know. And they were talking about how there's this really dangerous kind of thought that the arts and the academics and the sciences are at odds with each other, which is actually really that shouldn't be a thing at all. And what needs to be happening is that the arts and the sciences and the academics need to be working together to improve how knowledge is communicated. And this misconception with the stigma of the arts and the performance side and the exhibitionism, there's so many life skills and so many basics and employability and all of these things that we push on students when they come into FE, even at the end of secondary education, from primary even right the way through, we push it on them, and we are almost taking away or restricting their access to these things through being able to express themselves. Would you agree with that?
I do completely agree. I mean, when I do come in contact with students, a lot of them have kind of had the creativity side taken away, whether
Yeah,
that is art and design, photography, even like performing arts and music. I mean, it's kind of seen as not really important. The main important
yeah,
ones are like science, maths, and English. But I mean, I think it is making its way forward for the better, because obviously at first it was all about STEM, about the science, technology, engineering, and
yeah,
maths, and now they're adding the A in there as well for art and design, which is nice. And I mean, some of our students have got involved in like STEAM projects where they've been working with the Birmingham Metropolitan Hospital,
oh
thinking
wow,
about like
that's
the
amazing.
architect. I know it's been great work thinking about the architecture of the building and how we can kind of involve well-being within that, because they're doing like an outdoor garden. They're even doing like an amazing exhibition in the hospital, which is really nice. So I think it is becoming more out there now in terms of embedding that sort of art curricula within different subjects, but also kind of making it known in the outside industry and in the actual world as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you were to have a conversation with someone, for example, in the staff room, who was going, "No, I have no idea how I can possibly bring the creative arts into my classroom, into my learners." Let me give you, for example, I don't know, trade boys, for example, when you've got the learners learning to be plumbers and your electricians and all of this. How would you recommend that somebody within that field could bring the arts into their classroom to make it accessible?
I mean, there's so many ways that they could bring it in. I mean, it's even kind of thinking about, okay, if you're putting like lighting in, what sort of lighting are you going to have? It's thinking about where it's going to go as well, because you want it to be able to be accessible, yet you want it to look nice. You don't want to just kind of just put a light on the wall and that's sort of it. You kind of want to get them thinking about that. So it's, for example, we're working with some of our construction students as well. We're doing a bit of an upcycling project where we're thinking about, okay, how can we upcycle old metals? And normally, obviously, they just construct something, but they're actually thinking about the kind of interior design of how they can construct this, how it can be aesthetically pleasing. So I think
Yeah.
it's about giving them that different aspect of design rather than just thinking of, okay, how am I going to put it together? It's all about, thinking about the end product of things as well. I mean, I even had a business studies tutor come to me and says, how can I embed a bit more creativity within, the students' work? I'm doing business studies, and it was a kind of case that they were looking at marketing. And I've kind of given her a few tips on what she could do regarding like branding, students actually coming up with their own branding or coming in contact with our students, kind
Mm.
of selling what it is that they're kind of doing in their business studies, what it is that they want to sell. And then our students are kind of thinking, okay, I see this sort of vision. What do you think? It's a bit like the kind of apprentice, actually, which is quite nice when you have
Yeah.
people kind of going into the office and they're like, okay, this is what I see. And then you've got the creatives actually creating it. But it's nice because, again, they're like collaborating.
Mm.
And it's kind of just bringing that relationship together. And it's also helping their confidence as well, which is really nice. And those communication skills.
Yeah, I always found that as well. Working in the creative arts department, the communication between all of them, the digital creative media lecturers, the fashion lecturers, the performing arts lecturers, the photography, we all work together, even with the English and the maths team as well, to make sure that the learning package that the students were getting was consistent across the board, and everyone was able to contextualize their lessons based on what they were learning. But then we were also crossing over into teaching some of the trade boys and some of the hair and beauty students as well. But I found personally, having that experience of teaching within a creative arts department, it gave me so much more kind of flexibility in the way that I learn and taught, in order to be able to make the lessons much more creative for other learners as well, to give them a different insight.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think it is a lot more flexible. You can do a lot more with it. I think like you can have a lot of like students getting up and doing it rather than just,
Mm,
just sitting on the desk. You can do a lot more like peer feedback as well. Like peer feedback is such a big thing. And I
it
mean, it doesn't
is.
mean to say that you create something and then you're kind of being critical about their work, but or even giving, sandwich feedback where you're giving positive, something that they could improve on, and then positive again. And I
Yes,
think that works really well within the classroom, because I think that also sets them up for higher education, because that is what it is like in higher education. So I remember once my lecturer, kind of scrutinized my work, and I did take it a bit to heart, but it's kind of given them that resilience as well, and that's what you kind of want to do. But yeah, like you said, it's always nice to kind of collaborate within the department, and I do feel that that needs to be done a bit more in other departments too. I mean, we have like the sports department, and because they are always working in a team, because sports is very like teamwork based, they
100%.
work like that too. And I think, we do need to collaborate more and speak to staff more. Sometimes I feel that we don't have enough hours in the day to just kind of go away from that and have those conversations with staff, because we're always so busy doing so many different other things as teaching advocates that, that kind of needs to be embedded somehow.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. Would you say there's a difference between how you, I mean, you are like fully an expert in educating young people and adults within this area. Would you say that there is a difference in how you introduce the arts to young people as opposed to adult learners who are returning to education, who maybe have that kind of stigmatized idea around the creative arts?
I would say so. I think I tend to see it more with the people who are just coming into art and design. I think because they've had their parent or guardian kind of paint this picture, kind of, oh, I don't really think it's going to go anywhere, so, just see how it is. And I think those sort of students are a bit more afraid to kind of try things, to stay in their comfort zone, because, if they do something different, or they do step out of their comfort zone, then it's not going to go right. Or so I feel like they
Right.
are more on edge. Whereas, like, for example, our returning students or adult students, they're more willing to take that risk, try out different things, and if it doesn't work, it's okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
when we have new learners in, if they make a mistake or their drawing hasn't gone to how they planned it to, they just kind of want to rip it out and start again.
They do.
And,
They do.
exactly. And I'm a very big believer in no, don't start again, keep it in there. If it didn't work, can still use it again. But
Yeah.
it's about kind of rectifying where they feel those issues have gone. And I mean, I have heard quite horror stories from some of them, which has been really sad actually, where they've said, my previous teacher at secondary, kind of wasn't happy with what I did, so ripped it out. So then they've got that sort of
Yeah.
mentality, and I think it's about building those stepping stones again to give them that confidence and let them know that it's okay to make mistakes. That's kind of what you do in life, but you just
Yeah.
learn from them for next time.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, Repent. I couldn't agree with you more. That's the term for it as well, isn't it? The horror stories that you hear when you have students coming into FE. And as an English teacher, some of them came in with just the worst relationship with the subject that I absolutely adored when I trained to teach in it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with the fact that these kids are coming in with this negative feeling towards something that's potentially so beautiful because of how they've been told that the way that they're responding to it isn't correct. And I think a lot of the students that had difficulties at school with either teachers or a specific subject, they found themselves going into the arts for that ability to let themselves be themselves. And yet when it came to things like showing their portfolios, they were terrified. They were absolutely terrified of being criticised.
Yeah, I mean, that does happen, and it is a shame for them. It really is. And I mean, all we can kind of do is work together to kind of make it a better place for them to want to come in. I mean,
Yeah,
the art room for me is a space where students, they do have that freedom to express their ideas and their thoughts and work creatively. And, they're not afraid to kind of say how they really feel or what they really think. I mean, when I do deliver my lessons, for example, I will put like an art piece up on the smart board, and I will just say, what are your thoughts? What do you think of this? Some of them will be like, I absolutely hate it. Some of them will be like, oh my God, I
yeah,
really love it. I love the colours they've used. But again, it's just building that kind of conversation. And I think that's what I really am kind of pushing recently. I mean, especially due to the pandemic. I mean, myself and colleagues kind of noticed that when we were having like new cohort of students, they had really lacked in those social skills
yeah.
because, they weren't able to be in the classroom. And still till this day, we're still trying to build on that, where learners are talking and they are doing group work, because some of them are afraid to have those conversations with one
Yeah,
another because they feel as though again that they're wrong. But I think it's just making that classroom a place where they know that they're safe and they know that they're not going to get criticised. And I think that's a really big thing. And I think, but like for example, I say to students, okay, guys, you've got 15-minute break, and they don't want to go for a break; they want to carry on.
yeah,
And for me, that's the biggest thing, knowing that okay, I think I'm doing a good job. I mean, they don't want to go for a break, so that's clearly a good sign.
absolutely. When you've
And
got a
they want to
student
be
that
there.
doesn't want to go and get a bacon sandwich, you know you're winning.
You're thinking, okay, I'm definitely doing something right here, or and then want to do a bit of a catch up session, or they're like, Miss, can I stop for an extra, half an hour at the end? And you're like, yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
definitely.
So it's a space for them to kind of build, and that's what you kind of want as a teacher.
It is. It absolutely is. Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is so wonderful. Um, let's flip it a little bit then. Obviously, from my background and where you are now, you would have effectively been my boss. And one thing that my head of creative arts always talked to us about was developing English and maths within the creative arts classrooms. So with that as kind of a package when they come in to FE, how do you help your lecturers in fashion, performing arts, digital creative media, etc., to develop English and maths in the classroom?
Some It can be difficult. I mean, we've had that kind of a lot. Like, how can I think it's always easier for us to embed English, so we always kind of speak about the formal elements, what they mean, and we always get the students to kind of speak about. the formal element of an artist's work, including their opinion.
Yeah.
So I think that's always a really good valid point, and those keywords that they use, like analyze, describe, explain.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have all the kind of keywords in terms of um, the different sorts of arts that there are, like abstract art, expressionism, all the different eras of art. So I think that's a really big point that we always cover, and all the history of it. Maths, on the other hand, can be quite difficult.
Tricky. Tricky.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, it is tricky. I mean, in photography, they do quite a lot of maths in terms of, when they're in the dark room and they're working with different sort of equipment and all the kind of liquids that they use, that
So it's
sort of
completely
stuff.
contextual to the area that they're working in then, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot more easier there. I mean, in fashion, they're always like measuring the garments and doing pattern cutting and things like that.
Yeah.
And I think in art and design we do use it, but not as much as I think we kind of could. But then again, it's kind of difficult. So like if we're doing a perspective lesson, we're using rulers and things like that all the time. If we're doing like plaster of Paris sculptures, we're kind of measuring the powder and the water that we're using. But I think with art and design on it itself, it is very difficult to kind of
Yeah.
embed maths, really. I mean, we have looked at different ways. We have shared best practice with one another, what works in their classroom and what we could kind of take into ours. And I think it does need a bit more developing on that. But I'm always open up to different kind of thoughts, different ideas that staff have got, really.
Oh, I was going to
Um,
say, if anyone has any suggestions of how you can embed English and maths into creative arts, that's definitely, we're all about sharing good practice, right? All
Absolutely,
about sharing good
absolutely.
practice. I'm just going to take a minute, Rupinder, if I may, just to mention the sponsors of the show this
Yeah.
evening. First of all, this show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Education, a leading publisher of books, directories, educational guides, and magazines specifically aimed at forward-thinking schools in the UK and beyond. Have you checked out their latest releases? Don't miss out. Visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles and advance your professional development today, as well as the wonderful With Slack group, who are a leading provider of specialist education and care. They need people like you to help them achieve even more. And at Within Slack, you'll be given all the resources and support you need, offered a clear path to career progression, and rewarded with some of the best salaries and benefits the industry has to offer. Check out withinslackgroup.com/careers. There we are. So, Rupinder, talk to me about where you, as a leader of the creative arts and the creative industries department, what is your hope for the future of the creative arts? What would you like to see happen, especially within things like the end of sort of secondary school, when people are starting to look at where they might be going next?
I think what I hope to do is kind of let young people know more about the careers that they can go to within the kind of creative subject, because I feel that students, it's okay for a tutor or teacher lecturer to stand in front of the classroom and kind of say, this is what an architect does, these are the qualifications you need, etc., etc. And I think
Yeah,
it's more about getting those actual working industry people within the classroom who have that first-hand experience, because I really feel that students kind of soak things up like a sponge when they actually have someone in front of them who's different, who's lived in that sort of working industry, and can kind of give them all the tips and things like that that they need to. I mean, we've done that with a few people within the industry. We had like an animator come in, we've had like a tattooist come in as well.
oh
And
wow,
it's
really?
really,
What was that
yeah,
like?
that was really interesting, actually. Reasons being because it was one of our ex-students. So that went down a treat.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah, so
amazing.
that
I
was
hope
that was
I hope
really good.
Shaniqua's listening, who does the late show on Sundays, because she and I did a show ages ago about teachers with tattoos and piercings and kind of the persona around that. I
Wow.
must, that would be amazing. Oh my
Yeah, I
goodness.
mean, we have a lot of students actually that come in and say, I want to be a tattooist. I think the main ones are usually tattooist, architect, and then animation design. That's kind of what people want to go into. They love their animation and manga and things like that. Those are like the top three
Right.
at the moment. This year it's been more kind of interior design, which has been quite nice. But yeah, so
Okay.
like going back to that, so yeah, so we had one of our ex-students coming in who's a tattooist, and he kind of spoke about what he did, and it was quite nice because he did a level 3 with us.
Mm.
So he kind of shared the importance of a portfolio and what he did to get to where he is. And it was really nice, and the students are really engrossed in it. So when you have someone like that in front of you, who's been through it, I think it means a lot more to the students, and it kind of opens their eyes up a bit more. And I think that's what we kind of need to embed more within the curriculum, is actually having these guest speakers in, and speaking about that. Really, I think that's what I would like to see further. And
Yeah.
just sharing more diversity as well, within the kind of classroom and within the creative sector. I mean, we're having so many diverse people now coming from Asian backgrounds, black backgrounds, and it's great to kind of see that.
It
And I think
is.
that just kind of needs to grow, really.
Yeah,
It really
yeah.
does.
How would you promote the creative arts to those diverse groups with regards to getting them to come and enroll? Because maybe I mean, it's like you said, coming from your background, there was kind of that barrier a little bit of going down that route initially, and kind of you kind of not wanting to tell them that you wanted to do your fine art degree. How could you make it more accessible to those more diverse groups?
I think it's just about kind of promoting it more. And I think what really works quite nicely. So, for example, there was like a South Asian girl who joined the course, and she
Right.
also went elsewhere. And because she knew, as me as a South Asian woman, that I was going to be teaching her, that was what drew her to actually wanting to come here, which was
Yeah.
really nice actually. And I think when students see that diversity in front of them and see someone that represents them, I think it does kind of let them think, okay, if she's like that, I can be like that too. And I think it's about
Yeah.
having those role models, isn't it, really? I mean, I was quite
Absolutely.
fortunate as well to be invited on the Seek channel, which was lovely, and actually speak about my journey on there and what I did, and the kind of the barriers that I faced, going through art and design, and in it not being seen as a proper subject, or and all those things that came along with it. So that was really interesting actually, and being able to kind of represent my heritage and my religion through that platform was a real big eye opener as well. And it was just nice to actually have that opportunity to sort of share that as well. So I hope that that maybe other people have seen that, and it's kind of helped them to think, okay, actually, that's what I also want to do. I shouldn't be afraid. I should, be who I want to be and share my passion and follow my heart. Because, like I always say to my students, the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want to be. You only live once. So, make the most out of it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Um, I wanted to share with you something that one of my students actually said to me. He's a post 16 student. He's got additional needs, and he is currently training to be a roofer. He is probably one of the most wonderful young men that I've ever met. He has no filter. He tells you exactly as it is. If he has something to say, he will say it. I was talking to him about creative learning and things, because he's really into like rap music, and he likes to write his own lyrics. He's very good at it. And I said to him, I said, "Do you know what, Paddy? Sometimes we just need to channel your positivity, your creativity." And he went to me, he was like, "Sarah, creativity isn't something you can channel correctly and put into one thing. Creativity is in everything." And I think that is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And he told me that I could tell you that.
Oh, that is lovely. You'll have to tell Paddy, I completely agree with him. That was such a lovely quote that he's kind of put together. Um, yeah, and when I hear things like that, it does make me feel like, yeah, we're amazing. Creativity is amazing, and I think we all need to do a bit more of it. I mean, I did a workshop actually with staff, and they were like, I've got no creativity. I haven't got any creativity in my bones, you know.
Yeah.
And I did like a bit of a Zentangle CPD session with staff, and it was really nice. And we had a bit of like well-being music in the background
That
and
sounds
stuff. And
amazing. Tell us
it
about that.
was. It was really good actually. So I think it was, again, it was when it was like COVID,
Right.
and I think we needed a bit of an outlet. So I think like sports department did a bit of a kind of sort of fitness little video, and I thought, we need to do a bit more art sort of based things. So that was when I kind of did like a Zentangle kind of workshop with some staff. And it was really nice. And I mean, some of them I think were like, oh my God, this feels so good. I'm taking time out for me. And one thing that one staff member did say was like, I feel a bit guilty actually just taking out the time and not doing anything. But then it
Oh,
was like, you
bless.
shouldn't feel guilty, taking out the time and doing this. This is for you. And, it was really nice because she was like, I could just carry on doing this all day. And I was like, well, you carry on doing this after you kind of do it. And that was really nice. And it was nice kind of mutual conversation going on. We wasn't talking about work, we wasn't talking about students. And it was just like a really nice, calm atmosphere, actually. And I think that's what it's about as well. You have to take that time out for yourself as an educator.
Yeah.
We're always thinking about, students and getting them through and all the
Yeah.
prep that comes along with it. And, I think it's really important to have that balance as well. And kind of have that creativity, because I have a lot of people say to me, do you do art in your own time? And I wish I did do it more. I think the main time I get to do it is in the 6-week holidays, but I
Right.
always take time out to, go to see different exhibitions, see what's going on. I
Do
have
you
my
paint? Do you
amazing.
paint yourself or anything?
I don't really paint myself. Um, I do like I'm more kind of textile based.
Ah,
So I like
okay.
doing a bit of textile stuff. I quite
Nice.
like sculpture as well.
Mm.
I have done like a few paintings and things, but I've always dibbled and dabbled out of everything. But I think
Yeah.
again, it's just, understanding and seeing what's going on in the kind of within your area as well. So, I do always kind of like go to exhibitions like Birmingham Art Gallery Icon.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Commonwealth Games was going on, it was lovely, and kind
Mm.
of just sharing that with the students. So, I went to Birmingham about 2 weeks ago with our level 2 BTEC learners, and for some of them, it's the first time they've ever been to a museum or even
Yeah.
been to a gallery. And they were so engrossed by it all. They were just like, wow, this is amazing. When are we going to go to the next one?
Oh, I
And a lot
love
of them
that.
had,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
exactly. A lot of them hadn't even gone to anything like that in, primary or secondary school. And for me, it was quite a shock because a lot of them
Yeah.
had actually done GCSE art in secondary, and
And they'd never been to a gallery.
they'd not been to an
How
exhibition.
do
So
you
for
do an
me, it was
art
quite a shock.
qualification without going to a gallery?
That's what I mean. So I was very shocked about that.
Right.
And, again, it's all about kind of embedding that within the curriculum. Like,
Yeah.
you need to do that. You need to show them what's going on. They need to have those role models. They need to have those artists that they can,
Yeah.
look to and want to sort of be. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I mean, I'm even taking our level threes next week to London, which is going to be really nice.
Oh, where are you
So
going?
we're going to the Courtauld Art Gallery, because we've been fortunate
Oh,
for
can I
about
come?
3 years.
Can I come?
You come along, Sarah. Of course you can. We'll just shove you in the coach at the
I'll
back
just pop me in
somewhere
the
with the
boot. No one will
students.
notice I'm there. It's fine.
Yeah, so it's really nice, and we do art workshops with Courtauld Art Institute, which is
Right.
really nice. And then we're going to the Tate Modern, so it's
That's
quite nice for
awesome.
them to see the kind of traditional art and then the modern,
Yeah.
crazy contemporary art. And sometimes they're just like, "What the hell is that?" But again, it's kind of showing them what it's all about, really, and you want to give them that
Yeah.
sort of experience and that enrichment to kind of enrich their
Yeah.
actual
Stuff
lives
like
from
that
their
is so
teaching.
important. It's so important, isn't it? And also, like when with performing arts and things, we used to have people like Frantic Assembly coming in and doing workshops with the students, and that kind of hands-on first experience of meeting artists and seeing art face to face, which kind of leads me on to my next point, which kind of also goes off the back of, if people listened to Tom's show before this, when he was talking about kind of online learning platforms and resources and things like that. How did the creative arts at your college deal with lockdown? What was online learning like as a creative industries department?
Well, that was a bit of a tricky one at the start because when it happened, we were like, is this really happening? So
Yeah,
my colleague who I worked with then, Leon, we kind of, spoke about what are we going to do. And at the time, it was kind of like, should we use Google Classroom? Should we
right.
use Moodle, which the college always use? And
Hmm.
then we came across something called Edmodo, which was really, really good, actually. It was a really nice platform.
What was that called?
Um,
Sorry.
it was called Edmodo, but unfortunately, it stopped this year in September, which
Oh,
was so sad. I was literally like R.I.P. But it really, but it will always stay with me because it took us through to the pandemic.
so
But
what
yeah,
was
it was a
it?
really nice platform. So it was almost like a platform, which kind of was a bit like sort of like Facebook, but
Oh,
in an education kind of way platform. So students could share pictures that they had created on there. We could put comments on there, quizzes. You
was
could
it
put
kind of
like
like
a
Blend
nice
Space?
slightly,
Yeah.
but this was actually more like user friendly, so it was quite nice. They could submit.
So not Blend, not that Blend Space is rubbish or
No,
anything.
no, no, not at all. But it was a bit user friendly. Sorry, my
Yeah,
apologies.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so you could like submit assignments and things like that on there. So it was
Hmm.
really nice. It was like a really nice space that all students could kind of get involved in. And
Right.
then it kind of got to the point where we're like, okay, we're doing practicals. How can we kind of show practicals? Because we'd always do demonstrations in the classroom.
So I was going to say,
So
because it
that was
isn't conventional the way you could do it.
yeah, exactly. So that was when I thought, okay, I really had to think about it, and I thought, okay, let's do some YouTube tutorials. So, got myself a tripod, used my phone, started doing some tutorials, edited them, put text and stuff in them, and would kind of share those with the students. And I think that's kind of put a spring in my step, actually. I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be an
Did
amazing
you? Oh
YouTuber.
my goodness, really?
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, actually. So, yeah, kind of
Add
did
it to your
that.
CV. Curriculum lead, award winner, YouTuber.
Absolutely. How cool is that? Yeah, so that really kind of helped. And at first we were like, how are we gonna show the students what we want them to do? A lot of them haven't used this material before.
Right.
And we also actually created art packs as well. So when, the pandemic was happening, myself and my colleague, we went to the college and we put all these art packs together for the students and they quickly picked them up. So, we kind of gave them everything that we thought that they needed
Kind of a
for
lesson
that
in a
period of
bag,
time.
effectively.
Yeah, basically, I think it was lessons actually. So we
Yeah.
kind of just shoved everything in there and they worked from that. Yeah, and those videos really, really helped because they were able to kind of see these demonstrations. But what was really interesting was that I'd get messages like, Miss, I didn't know you could do that. And things like that. And he was like, yes, believe it or not, I can. So I think they saw this different side of me. It wasn't just, a teacher in front of the classroom
They
teaching
really do think that we
stuff.
live in a box somewhere, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah,
Some
they
of
do,
them.
bless them.
Going, oh
They
my God,
really do.
you go out.
Who said you could go out? You can't do that. Yeah, so that's quite funny actually. But yeah, so that was what really kind of helped. And from that, I think it kind of got other staff thinking, oh, that worked for Rupi. Let's kind of do the same. And I think it kind of went across the college, and people were starting to do that in terms of staff, and it was really, really helpful. And I mean, a big one that we used was like Padlet. We
Oh, I
use like
love Padlet.
Google.
I
I
love
love it.
Padlet. Hmm.
It's so good. We use like Google Arts and Culture, which was really nice. So because you could use it on your phone, it was phone friendly. You could kind of
Oh,
put in
nice.
any gallery that you wanted to, and you could basically have like a virtual tour around it.
Kind
So
of like
that
a
was what
live stream of the gallery in the classroom.
yeah,
That sounds
basically.
epic.
So that was really nice. And the college were quite fortunate enough when we started coming back into the college after the pandemic to actually have VR headsets. So all of our students,
Blimey.
every kind of September when they start with us, we get them to put on these VR headsets, and it's really nice. It's almost like it's a bit of like an icebreaker. So, they first come in and you know what they're like. They don't want to talk to anybody and they
Yeah.
just want to keep themselves to themselves. They're like angels then, aren't they? And
Hmm.
then we kind of get them to put these VR headsets on, and they're kind of doing all these sort of, so it was called like multi-brush, and they're actually creating these 3D drawings and they're being able to walk around them. And for them, it was like, wow, this is amazing. And I think it was a real big eye opener to kind of show how the 21st century technology is changing, and you don't have to just
Definitely.
use the traditional pencil to paper. You can use these kind of controllers that you've got in your hand, and you look like a crazy robot, but you're having the time of your life. You're doing something completely different, and one of these students might be the first people to actually create these kind of virtual um, pieces of art, and you can actually create like a virtual exhibition of your own as well. So that's what some of our students did this year. So we were able to see all their drawings, and then we basically had a web page of everything that they could do. But again, it's giving them a different skill, it's giving them different knowledge as well,
Yeah,
and really opening their minds. And I think that's really important. I don't feel like, you should just limit them. I think they need to try out everything and anything, and really understand what works for them and what they really enjoy. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And I think everything that you've just talked about has done nothing more than accentuate how significant the arts are in how adaptable they are, how diverse they are, but also how quickly they evolve to keep up with everything else. And you see sometimes kids that aren't given these opportunities lacking in the ability to be able to do some things because they haven't been exposed to stuff, particularly in the the financial stuff that's going on at the minute. Everyone's having a little bit of a rough time, and the creative arts just give you so many opportunities to especially now, to access stuff that you wouldn't be able to, that you're going to be able to transfer into adult life, into employment, etc., etc.
Absolutely, it really is. And I mean, even to the point where they can use this technology to kind of have a kind of an interview. So there's even like on the VR headsets, they can even do like a pre mock-up interview with like a potential employer. And it kind of picks up on the way that they're talking, if they keep saying the same word over and over again.
Right.
And it's just amazing how it can just help with that. Because at the end of the day,
That
we
sounds
are
like an
getting,
amazing tool.
it is, and some of our students have been really fortunate to actually use that, and kind of have access to that sort of technology. But again, it's getting our students prepared for the working industry. I mean, like I kind of said earlier, a lot of them do have, social communication issues where they don't know
Yeah,
how to, they don't want to socialize, and then they're quite scared and anxious to go out in the working industry. And I think by just giving them this as a different platform, it is kind of building on that sort of confidence, and it's making them think, okay, if I can do this now, it's going to make it a bit easier for them later down the line. And I think it's
definitely.
just really important that we ensure that they are ready for that working industry, because the amount of competition that there is, it's just mind boggling as well.
Oh
And
my goodness,
I
it's,
was,
sorry, I was going to cut you off. Carry on.
no, go on, you carry on.
I was no. All I was going to say was a really long-winded sentence that I agreed with you. So, yeah, I feel like we could talk
Absolutely.
about this for hours and hours and hours. I really do. Um, so when it comes to you enrolling for college, so you're getting ready for, let's say it's, where are we now? You said earlier June, July, you start getting together and organising stuff. When it comes to enrolment and advertising your college and the courses, how do you put it out there? What language do you use? What visuals do you use to make people go, I need to go there, I have to go and learn there?
Well, we're quite fortunate enough that we kind of make all these kind of promotional videos of our different areas. We have quite good marketing, and I think for us, really, I started a Instagram page for Sandwell Art, so I share everything that we do on there. So a lot of students kind of see that. I mention that during like enrollment days or open evenings along with other staff.
Yeah,
And I think Instagram is quite a big thing in terms of those social media platforms,
100%.
because students can just kind of look at those pictures and it's like, yeah, that's fine. I feel like if we give them a prospectus, they're kind of like, oh, look how many pages there are in this,
I know.
and it kind of just puts them off straight
The
away.
yellow pages, isn't it?
Yeah,
Some of them.
exactly, exactly. As soon as they see pictures and these kind of interactive videos, that's it. You've
Yeah.
got them. You've got them straight in. So I think it's just about kind of doing that. So I kind of promote our course throughout the year and show them what we're doing. And I think that's what kind of makes us stand out as well in that sort of sense. It's kind of just showing what they can also do and showing them that there is no limits to what they want to do as well. So I think that's what the main thing that we tend to do is. So yeah, I would say that's it.
Definitely. I mean, I'd come and study there. I was actually having a look at. I was actually having a bit of a nosy earlier on at the art and design section of the summer college and all your bits. And there's a lovely video of you on there talking about it as well.
Oh, good.
There is. But no, it was so good, and I kind of felt like, I mean, obviously I was a student once looking to go into the arts, and because obviously I did a drama and literature degree, but then, like, I was very oppressed by my parents in that they really didn't want me to go from school to do performing arts. I wanted to go and do drama and performance studies and this and that and the other. And they finally agreed to let me do it on the condition that I did an A level in English language at the same time, just in case.
Always have to have that
Just in
backup.
case. Just in case. I was like, where am I going to go with specifically English language if I'm, But anyway, I didn't do it till later anyway. But I've literally, we could talk about this for hours, couldn't
We
we?
could,
We
we
really
really
could.
could.
So what are
Absolutely.
you doing? What projects are your students working on at the moment? Tell me about some of the amazing pieces of art that they're creating at the moment for their
Absolutely.
projects and
So,
things.
at the moment, they're working on an upcycling project, which is actually really nice. It's the whole idea of having something old, making it into something new, and I think it's really important, especially with making sure that we are doing things to help the world, help the environment, less waste. So it's kind
Mm,
of letting them sort of see that aspect of it. So at the moment they're looking at what they would an object or something that they'd like to upcycle. And what's really nice about this project is that they also come up like with a brand name, they come up with marketing material in order to kind of sell this product as well. So they come up with pricing, they look at market research. So it's really nice, and they get to sort of share that with peers. And we do like a Dragon's Den sort of lesson as well,
oh,
where we
wow.
kind of give questions as well. So they do like a proper professional PowerPoint as well, and they have
And a
like a lovely
pitch and
design
everything.
sheet. Yeah, absolutely. So it's really nice. I mean, they dread it, thinking, "Oh my God, I've got to present in front of my peers." But it's nice. It's not exactly very formal. It's informal, and it's just kind of sharing those ideas in a different way. So that's what they're currently working on. And then after Christmas, that's when we'll be focusing on the final major project, which
Yeah.
all the students love. So all the students in all four areas will be doing final major project where they can focus on any theme, any topic that they are interested in. So we've had like learners in the past where they've looked at like politics, they've looked at Black Lives Matter. I had a student who was obsessed with chocolate one of the years, and she wanted to do her
I
whole
like
project
her
based
already.
on that. Exactly. I was like, I
Yeah.
am giving you a distinction.
Pass.
You are so good. So yeah, so they can look at so many different things. So, like I said before, we've had quite a few people looking into architecture. Two of our students actually this September actually went to study architecture, and they've got this whole idea that they want to have a business together and all sorts. And I was like, well, when you're earning loads of money, don't forget you need to make me a lovely, beautiful house, and no
Yeah.
pressure at all. So yeah, so I think they really love all that part of it because that project is theirs. It's not us saying to them, you need to do this, that, etc. They can do whatever they want from it. They get to research into any artists that they like that really inspire them. They start kind of gathering their own primary and secondary sources, thinking about how they're going to create their piece. They
Yeah.
put like an exhibition label together. So it's really, really lovely that they just get to kind of have their own stamp on this. And they always tend to use that sort of project when they go to university as part of their portfolio. So it's lovely. And I think it's about giving them that individuality as well, letting them express
Absolutely.
what they want
But
to do.
also the best thing about everything there is that not only are they learning the skills to upcycle whatever it is that they're doing, they're learning to be a business owner, they're learning to be a manager, they're learning to be a marketing person, they're learning to be an administrator, all things that are completely transferable. Even if they never upcycle anything again in their life, everything that they learned through that project on a creative arts course has set them up for something that they are going to go on to when they're an adult, right?
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. When we're putting these lessons together and we're doing our schemes of work and we're sequencing things, that is the whole point of it, because we want to give them that knowledge, that skill. We want to ensure that they've got the correct behaviour and the attitude for that working industry, so that these people can just walk into a job and they've already got all those, soft skills and all that sort of that experience that they need for the industry. And that's what it's about, really.
It 100% is. It 100% is. Do you ever have CPD days at college where the kind of the creative arts department kind of leads the CPD days for kind of the other groups or the other kind of departments or anything? And is there any kind of funny stories that you can finish with today of how the creative arts are just brilliant?
Oh, I don't think I've got any funny stories, unfortunately. And if I did, I think my colleagues would kill me if I shared it. Um, but I think in terms of like the CPD, I mean, we share things, as much as we kind of can, but we've not really done much on a wider scale. And I think that is something that we should probably do a lot more.
Yeah,
But reasons being, I think the past couple of years we've really been focused on Ofsted, and we have had that visit, thank goodness, and we got a good overall, which is fantastic. So I think, moving forward, we would like to do that. And we are going to hopefully be starting to do CPD sessions where each staff member can share something from their specialism, because we all have different specialisms and different backgrounds, and it'd be really nice
absolutely.
to kind of share that. So that was actually something that we discussed on the previous staff development day, just before we came back from the half term. So that's something that we're kind of hoping to kind of move forward, and that's what it's about. It's about kind of sharing that best practice as well, because we're
Yeah,
all specialists in our different areas, but just learning a bit more and kind of expanding our knowledge on that, it's really important. And I'm a big believer in always doing CPD, and I mean my log is huge anyway, because I always want to see what's going on and just getting involved, really. And that's what it's about. You
100%.
need to be learning, you need to be upskilling yourself, especially if you're upskilling these young people who, are going to be the leaders of tomorrow as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, Rupinder, I have had the best evening chatting to
Oh,
you
thank
tonight. Thank you
you.
so much for coming on to Teachers Talk Radio and celebrating how wicked the creative arts are, because they are.
It's
They're
been a
just
pleasure.
they're just amazing. Will you come back and talk to us again? Maybe after the
Absolutely.
FMPs, tell us about your exhibition.
Oh, that would be amazing. Absolutely. I'd love to do that. Thank you, Sarah.
I'll definitely have you back if that's all right with you, and all right with Tom and everyone
Absolutely.
as well. I'm just booking people now. I'm here. Thank you so much, Rupinder,
No
and also
problem.
don't forget, check out tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on Teachers Talk Radio, if you get a minute to yourself, AI with art and writing at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, which I think sounds brilliant.
I'll be there.
Very excited for that. Thank you so much, Rupinder. You take care.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye. That was Rupinder Sandhu, my guest this evening, who is the curriculum manager for Creative Arts Industries Department at Sandwell College for Visual Arts. And I am just so chuffed that she spent the evening celebrating her awesome department with me this evening. Thank you so much again to our sponsors for this evening, which are the John Catt Education. If you want to check them out, visit johncattbookshop.com to explore their full range of titles. And of course, Witherslade Group, who are the leading provider of specialist education and care. Check them out at Witherslack Group, not Witherslade Group, witherslackgroup.com/careers. I will see you in a fortnight. I'm here again a week next Monday, so 2 weeks today. I will see you again. Thank you so much to Tom for his awesome show beforehand as well with his great guests, and I will see you in 2 weeks time. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm really excited to do more shows with you. Take care. Have a great rest of your evening.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.